Hello and welcome to this webinar today, which is organised by our Alumni Association in India. The topic is enhance your employability, and we'll be hearing from three panelists who will be talking on different topics from their experience in business, and also will be sharing some key employability skills with you. I'm going to oh, apologies there. Let me just move to the next slide. Here we go. So our presenters today are Sanjana Chopra, who is the owner at Digital Raven, and she studied BA in Management and Marketing with us in 2014. We'll be then handing over to Professor Sumitra Mukherjee, and he's professor at the Indian School of Business and Finance. He graduated in 2002 with the MBA. Sumitra will be not just introducing himself, but also focusing on key employability topics, including work ethics and key professional skills, and also top skills for when you're taking interviews. And then we'll be handing over back to our employability stories and hearing from Ruchir Agarwal. He's the Director of Quality and Innovation at Rio Parapac Private Limited. And he graduated in 2018 with a Business and Management BA degree. And Sanjana will be focusing on her startup and really highlighting some of the employability startup skills from when starting your business. And Ruchir then will be taking a slightly different angle and talking about the approach that he took with his career into developing his family business. I realise I haven't introduced myself, apologies. I'm Jane Harding, and I'm the alumni officer here at the University of Exeter. So I'm really happy to be working with our alumni committee and alumni in India in particular, and all of our presenters today are committee members of our India Exeter Alumni Association, who have been really active in events, supporting not just events in person when we were able to, but our virtual events that we've had over the last few months, and going forward also supporting our students with their career programs, and also with our student recruitment in India to encourage more students to come and study at Exeter. So what I wanted to start by was just to give you a little update from what's been happening here at Exeter, a few of the offerings that we have for you, our alumni, and also I know that we've got a number of guests registered who are alumni from different parts of the world, not just in India. So it'd be really great to give you a little update what's been happening, some of the key news, and then followed by some of the careers opportunities that we have here at Exeter within our career zone, which should be beneficial for you, that you can engage with at any time. So let me just hand over first to the first slide that I have here. There's a lovely picture of Exeter in the sunshine. It's looking a little bit different at this time of year. And yeah, so I just wanted to show you how the campus is looking now. So it's probably going to be very different from how a number of you would have seen it from when you graduated. A lot of the things that you would really expect there, you know, the safety measures that we have at the moment due to the coronavirus. Teaching in person has been taking place with a mixed approach of face-to-face and online distance learning as well. So and you'll see also there a picture at the top where our graduates from the 2020 classes graduated. Some of them graduated early that was our medical students who went to help on the front line within hospitals and healthcare sector, and then that was the same for a couple of months later for our graduates. But campus is still looking as beautiful as ever, as you might remember. And then another key update that a number of you would have heard about through our alumni communications is that we've had a change of Vice Chancellor. A number of you would have remembered from when you graduated Professor Sir Steve Smith. He retired at the end of August this year after over 18 years of being Vice Chancellor here at Exeter. And we've welcomed last month Professor Lisa Roberts, and she joined us from Leeds, where she was at a leadership position, and her professional background is virology. And during her next steps of becoming Vice Chancellor, she's working on a 10-year strategy, which is due to be launched in the coming months. And her outlook and the key items that have been added within her strategy really has a global outlook throughout it, from everything from community, working with partnerships. Obviously, our alumni communities are going to be even more important, and with our research as well. Enhancing this exceptional student experience, which is probably more important now than ever, and of course our research excellence. And whether you're a student or you're an alumni at the moment, you'll be part of a truly global alumni community. And we have over 180,000 alumni based worldwide. You'll see there just from the map how global it is and what a community you have to network with and engage with. And that's over 183 countries. We have network groups, we have individual volunteers, with country contacts or helping in different ways with their employability and other ways. And that includes obviously our India Alumni Association here that helps supporting us with events like this. And we'd really like to keep in touch with you, whether you're a student now or when you come to graduate, whether you're an alumni at the moment. We'd love to keep in touch. So do connect with us through social media, or whether you want to volunteer, we'll be most welcome to include you in our activities. So I just wanted to highlight some of the ways that alumni do support the university. Obviously, there's events just like this, as I highlighted already. We have employability activities, mentoring, giving back to our student community, supporting student recruitment both in the UK but worldwide as well by sharing your extra experience with others. We also have philanthropy, so whether you're able to give through a volunteering way, as I mentioned, or whether you're able to give financially, there's different ways you can do that through research, through giving through legacies or student scholarships, for example. And you can see we've had a target running over the last few years, and that target has been exceeded both financially and also through volunteering targets. So thank you very much. And just my final slide is just to highlight some of the careers opportunities that we have for alumni such as yourselves. So when you do graduate, you'll have access to all of our careers opportunities beyond graduation, and those include our career zone, which is an online portal, and that has jobs, international jobs all over the world, and internships constantly updated. We have events, we have careers consultants you'll be able to access, lots and lots of information on the web page. We also run a career mentoring program, which is really, really successful. And we have mentors around the world, whether you'll be able to become a mentor yourself or to access a mentor to have that careers one-to-one guidance. And there's other opportunities such as careers Q&A via email. And we also have events just like this, and the number of them, including this event, will be added to our webpage there. So I'll share the link with you all at the end of this session. If you wanted to get involved or you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. My email is just at the bottom there. So that's the end of my slides, and I really want to start the session now and for you to hear from our panelists. So I'm going to hand over now to Sanjana Chopra. So just bear with me a moment. I will just change Sanjana to our presenter so she can start. And over to you.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Sanjana Chopra, and I graduated from the University of Exeter, as Jane mentioned, in 2014. And shortly after, in 2015, I founded my own digital marketing company, Digital Raven. So just a little bit about me. I've been born and raised in Mumbai. I studied at the Cathedral and John Connon School till year 12, after which I went to do my undergraduate in Exeter. I originally started studying BA in Business and Management, but after year 1, I decided that I wanted to specialize in marketing. I just found my calling in marketing, and I switched to BA in Management with Marketing in year 2. During the summer holidays, I did internships at various marketing and advertising companies in India because I always want to come back and work in India. Then after I graduated, I came back and I started working for a leading advertising agency for about 8 months. Unfortunately, the hours were too long, and at some point I was on the verge of a burnout, and so I quit. I did some traveling and met with a few people, some my age, some older than me, and just spoke to them about their companies and what their companies are doing in terms of marketing. After which, I started taking freelance projects and working with such companies that were either SMEs or they've only just started and they've self-funded. So they had limited budgets, but also knew that they needed a successful marketing strategy. And so I started working with my own plans, and that led me to starting my own company, Digital Raven, just because of how many clients I procured through my freelancing. So I started Digital Raven in 2015 in Mumbai. First, it was just me for a few months. I started with social media management and content writing for self-funded startups and small to medium-sized enterprises. In 2016, I had by then had completed a course in website designing, specifically WordPress websites. And so I started offering that service as well and started procuring clients who wanted websites designed. After that, I was able to hire full-time staff that specialized in coding and were graphic design experts. In late 2016, we expanded our services and included social media management, content writing, marketing strategy, graphic design, branding, and web design and development. And these are some of the services that these are the services that we still have ongoing today as well. So our company has worked with small to medium-sized enterprises, restaurants, hotels, self-funded startups, NGOs, jewelry brands, photographers, and many more. My clients have been from all over the world, be it US, UK, Spain, Belgium, France, India, and many more places. So we really just offer services wherever you are, irrespective of your location, as long as you have an internet connection. And I think this year has proven that all of your work can happen online, and you don't need those physical one-on-one meetings. We have Zoom, we have like Google Meet. We have many online services through which we collaborate with our clients, and we have been doing this year. So some of the essential skills I've learned as an entrepreneur this year, and just in the past 5 years as an entrepreneur, has been that networking and strategy is very, very important. Reaching out to people, whether they're in this industry or a different industry, it's been very, very imperative to gain knowledge and skills, and also just understand different people's perspectives. That can really help you build your own strategy. So I would recommend just network as much as possible. Go strike up conversations with people who are leaders in their field if you get an opportunity to. Learn from peers, learn from people who've been in your industry for years. People are just starting up. Also just like global leaders like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. Sundar Pichai, you just read up and understand how they've gotten to where they are, and you can learn so much, and you can apply them in your enterprise irrespective of the size. Another thing that's a very, very essential skill in entrepreneurship is accounting and finance management. It's something that wasn't my strong suit when I started, but over the years I have definitely focused on improving my accounting and finance management. And it's such an essential skill, just like managing your finance, whether or not that is your strength. You need to be aware, even if you have staff who's just going to handle that, you still need to be very well aware of what's happening and what's legal, what isn't. It's a very important part of entrepreneurship. Even if you're doing the most creative thing, that is something you need to be aware of. Time management. Time management is the most important thing. I probably should have put that number one. If you can't manage your time, if you can't plan and organize and prioritize your tasks, you're not going to be successful. Your all of your plans are not going to work out if you do not manage your time well. You need to have an understanding of how long you're going to spend on each task, or how long a particular task requires. And when you manage your time, you also get sorry, is my audio echoing?
It did, yeah, Sanj. I don't know if whether you've changed anything there, or you just want to put the headphones on. I can still hear you fine otherwise.
Okay, sorry. I think time management is one of the most essential skills, and to be successful in entrepreneurship and manage everything from your accounting to networking to planning, delegation, you need to manage your time. And also you definitely need to manage your time so that you get a minute to yourself and you don't burn out. Delegation, learn how to delegate your tasks to your employees. Even though you think that you might be the best at a particular task, you cannot do everything. That is just not possible. So you need to be able to delegate things, especially to the right employees. So you need to know which employee is going to do this task the best and most efficiently, and delegate accordingly. Knowing your limits. Again, you need to know how much work you can take on at a given time. You cannot just chase after gaining more clients, getting more profit. That's not possible, because if you don't know your limits and you take on more work than you can deliver, that's not only going to damage your brand image, but also at some point you will be very stressed out, and you will lose that love and that confidence in your own work. You have to constantly learn. You cannot sit in the position of a boss and be like, I know everything, that is why I'm boss and I can't learn anything. You need to constantly learn, whether it's on the job, whether it's outside of work, do short courses, just constantly learn and grow as an entrepreneur. That's the only way you as an entrepreneur and your company will grow. Risk taking, I think that's entrepreneurship 101. You need to take risks. So, but at the same time, you need to be aware of whether or not you can take said risk. Your business will grow if you take risks, but at the same time, you need to be very cautious about the kind of risks you're taking. Creativity. Entrepreneurship requires a lot of creativity. It doesn't mean that just because you're in a creative field, you have to be creative. Even if you're in something like finance, you need to be creative in the way you're going to market your services, or you're going to market your company. And also just like creatively approach your clients. Your customer relationship has to be maintained very delicately, and you need to be creative with the way you're handling each customer, because no two customers are the same. They're very different, and so you need to even understand how you need to approach them differently, and that requires creativity as well. So after 5 years that I have been in business, this is what companies in general look for in employees. And I think this applies to a lot more companies than just Digital Raven. The hard work. You need to be hardworking. I think that's the number one thing. So whether you're a fresher or you are applying for a new job after having worked for a while, your hard work needs to show in all of the work that you've previously done, or the hard work you're willing to do. So we need employees who are hardworking. Skill set and knowledge, of course. You need to be qualified for the job you're applying for. You have to have the required skill set. If you don't, you need to work on building that skill set. Communication skills. Communication is very important, whether it is for within a company or even with a different company. Even if you're collaborating with someone else, or you're working with another company, or just like within the company, communication to success. The team spirit. You cannot work all alone in a company. You have to have that team spirit, and you need to be very open to working with other people within your team or with other teams within your company. You need to take initiative and be motivated. And in an interview, your employer will be able to tell whether or not you are motivated and keen on the job. If you're not motivated, that really shows through, no matter how hard you try to sell yourself as someone who's motivated and is going to take initiative on the job. that will show through. So you genuinely need to be motivated for a certain job when you apply for it. Again, time management. You need to manage all of your tasks, know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and plan accordingly. And that's also very important for you to be a successful employee. You need to be open to learning. You can't just sit there and be like, I've got so many degrees, so I know everything. You need to learn, because what you learn in a degree is vastly different than what is there in practicality. And so you need to learn on the job as well. And you need to be open to learning from your peers, from your boss. And that is a very important attitude to have, just like open to learning new things. And you need to have a collaborative attitude where you're working with other people from your own team, or team member from other team members, and you're just collaborating with them on different ideas and different strategies. And that is what companies look for, because if you don't have all of these, then you're not going to be a successful employee. You're not going to add to the company, and over time you're going to lose that job. So those are certain things that you need to keep in mind when you are working or applying for jobs or working at companies. And if you feel that this job is not for you, find something that you're passionate about and go after it. Because then only will you be a successful employee, will you be happy in your job. If you don't do any of these things and you don't have any of these, then it's not going to happen. So you need to work hard on these skills. And if you don't have these skill sets, or you're not motivated, or you don't like what you do, then maybe look for another form of employment or another job profile. So certain ways that you can enhance your employability is constantly update your CV. After every single short course you've done, or every single certification that you've got, or qualification you've got, you should update your CV. Even if you're changing job profiles within the same company, update your CV, because you learn different skill sets at every single job profile and every single job role. So you need to update your CV that includes all the skills that you have learned from your previous job role, and then what you're doing in what's your new role about. So that also includes updating your LinkedIn. Learning new skills. You need to learn new skills constantly to grow, to get those promotions that you're after. To if you're switching jobs, then you need to learn new skills to be able to get that new job that you're after. Also, that includes maybe doing a post-graduation, or doing another degree, or just doing a lot of certificate courses in between. And especially now, I think this year, platforms like Coursera, etc., offering massive discounts on some incredible courses. So maybe you should look into that. And also, I think there are a lot of universities that are offering online short courses at really big discounts. So I think maybe you should look into that, just to enhance your skills and your knowledge in whatever you're doing. Again, that I think that covers study further, as what just covered. Follow your dreams. That's something that I tell everyone. If you aren't interested in something that you are currently at, maybe you should explore what your dreams are and follow that. You know, even if you're just like, oh, I'm going to do this just because it pays well, over time it's going to just bring you down, and everyone can see it. So you're going to start losing your job, or you're going to just lose that motivation and not really get good recommendations for your job. And so I'd recommend just like follow your dreams and do something that you love and enjoy, and that work is going to feel very joyful. It'll spark joy. Just do something that'll spark joy in your life. Utilize your time efficiently. I think this year especially, everyone has the chance to utilize the time efficiently, learn new things, develop new skills, really enhance who they are as an individual, gain new skill sets, or improve upon their existing skill sets. And that would help you whenever you're looking for a new job or you're switching jobs. So that's one thing that you need to do. And also, when you utilize your time efficiently, you're able to do a lot more within a short period of time, because you're prioritizing rather than wasting time watching Netflix for 10 hours a day. Network. When you network, you get to learn a lot more about each company. I know this year networking is not really possible, but outside of this, you should network. You should go for networking events. you should, if you get an opportunity to go to some party that has the CEO of some company, go for it, just to go and meet with that CEO, because if you even have a conversation with them, you learn a lot more about what their company is about, or who they are. And you could learn a thing or two about what would make you an ideal candidate for that company. In fact, I got one of my internships just because I ended up meeting with the CFO of an advertising company, and I just spoke to him and asked him if I could come in for an interview for an internship, and he said yes, and he fixed up the interview for me, and that's how I got one of my internships. So I think networking is very, very important. Collaborate creatively. If you're in between jobs, I would recommend that maybe work on some sort of a freelance project, because you don't want your skill set to not improve. And also, a lot of companies, when they look at you having a gap of, say, 6 months or 8 months in your resume, that's sort of concerning that you've fallen out of touch. So doing a freelance project or doing a consultancy project, or just collaborating with someone else on a particular project, that would really, really enhance your CV. It also shows that you take a lot of initiative and you genuinely care and are passionate about that job. So that would really help with your CV. So I think those are certain things that you should keep in mind. This is just a bit about how you guys can get in touch with me and my company, whether it's just to have a chat about employability, or you're looking to collaborate with me or work with us or require digital marketing services. So this is how you can get in touch with me. And do you guys have any questions?
I would like to ask a question, actually, Sanj.
Yeah.
From your perspective, if you were thinking about starting your business now, during COVID and everything that's changed in the last few months, what differences do you think an entrepreneur would find at this stage? Obviously, there'll be many, but do you think what do you think the sort of challenges, but also the opportunities might be compared to when you started your business?
I think one of the main challenges is just not being able to meet people face to face. So initially, when you start off a business, it's very important for the owner or the founder to just go and meet people, whether it's their suppliers, if you're selling a product. So meeting your suppliers, that's very important. Meeting the people you're working with, like your selling points, whether it's like shops or online platforms, just like meeting with them. That's not going to happen. But however, I think now that we're in October end, people have just adapted more to the online platform. And I think if you're selling a product, there are so many platforms that are available, whether it's like directly through Amazon or Etsy, or you could just build your own online store and start selling it. And I think one of the best ways that you can do that is collaborate. If you're selling a product, to collaborate with influencers, hiring the right PR, so your brand is out there. So I think those are things that people need to look into in terms of selling a service. I think the best way forward right now is, while it's all on social media, you also need to network and try and reach out to as many friends and contacts and acquaintances as possible, because a lot more people have a budget constraint and they'd be willing to collaborate, if it's a service, with people who come through reference, just because there is a sort of security at the back of their mind that this person is familiar, this person is known, and I can trust them with my business. So I think if you're providing a service or a product, you need to look into those aspects. Also, my recommendation is like review your product and see whether or not people would buy it now, because if you're looking to sell luxury, that's not going to happen this year. I think people are very hesitant, and just with the way the economy is, I don't think anyone would be willing to do that. So maybe delay your project till later on. But if you're selling any other product, I think there are a lot more opportunities online right now. Of course, it would be a bit difficult when you're meeting with people online rather than in person. But I think now is a good time to also negotiate the best prices for you, because people are just willing to give you something at a further discount than they would otherwise. So you can cash in on that and make quite a profit and save a lot of money on that. I think also just because most of the people are working from home, you have a lot more time to plan efficiently, and you're saving an hour in traffic, so you get that extra hour to do other things and focus a lot more on different aspects of entrepreneurship and just starting out your business. So whether it's like financial planning, budgeting, marketing, HR, you can do all of that. And also, you hire a lot of unpaid interns because they're fresh graduates who don't have a job. And if you're short on budget at the moment, you can hire them for a few months as an unpaid intern before converting them to full-time employees. So that's another thing you should consider.
Thank you. It's reassuring to know that there are actually lots of positives there in what you're saying. What I'm going to do now, just looking at time, I'm going to hand over to our next presenter, which is Sumitra. I'll just change him as the presenter here so we can share your screen. Thank you so much, Sanj. That was really insightful.
Thank you.
Sumitra, over to you.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we can.
Great, and you can hear me clearly as well? All right. I'll just make a few adjustments. Something's coming in front of my screen here. Yeah, okay. So I'll be talking about strengthening work ethics and professionalism and the critical tips for succeeding in interviews. Essentially, let me introduce myself a little bit. I've now chosen the academic line, but before that, I did my schooling in Calcutta with St. Xavier's School. And then I went on to graduate from the University College London in UK way back in 91, 92. And then I did my MPhil in Economics and Finance in 92 from University of Cambridge, Darwin College. I came back to India. I worked for 8 years. I worked in the financial markets and I worked in the petrochemicals industry for about 8 years before I met the representatives of UK universities where I was exploring the opportunity of doing my MBA. And I chose Exeter University, because I really liked their course structure. I really liked the faculties, and there was a wonderful bit of counseling given by the representative of Exeter University. And moreover, I was chosen for being the Asian Millennium Scholar of Exeter University at that point of time. And I went ahead and did my MBA. After I came back doing my MBA from Exeter University, I worked with a management consulting firm called Unique Solutions, where we delivered services in the context of supply chain management, business strategy, social and market research, economic research, and we took on a lot of projects and assignments for big multinational companies. Of course, the clientele included some of the big public sector organizations and multinational companies in India itself, and we worked on different sectors and different domains, and it was really fascinating. From the year 2007, I've been in the academic world. I have lectured I've been a deputy director with the Netaji Subhash Institute of Management Sciences for about 5 years. And then I worked for one of the leading business schools in India, the New Delhi Institute of Management, for 3.5 years. And now for the last 3.5 years, I'm associated with the Indian School of Business and Finance, which is an affiliate center of the University of London. And it's a privilege to be associated with this institute where I get to teach a world-class curriculum with one of the biggest global giants, LSE, setting the academic direction, the London School of Economics. And in the course of doing this, I was really happy to share some of my learnings and practical experience, which I gathered while I was at work. And I was more than willing to share it with all the student fraternity to whom we are all committed to serve now. And it was a great bit of learning. And I find it really fascinating being in the academic world because it involves more than teaching now. It involves teaching them ethical practices, asking them to be associated with work, projects, internships. You're also part of the counseling. You're also part of the tutorials. You're also part of the industry linkages, how you cement your relationship with your students in terms of getting them associated with good business houses to try and explore opportunities for the future. So there's a miscellaneous package of assignments which I normally conduct apart from lecturing. Lecturing and teaching is one of the most important aspects of my job profile. But apart from that, we are also committed to enhance the soft skills and communication skills of students. And we also get them empowered so that they can probably migrate forward to do some really high-ended, value-added, higher studies in some, globally renowned universities abroad, and also take up great work practices and join organizations of repute and reputation and try to advance their career progression. So it's a miscellaneous package of tasks all integrated together. So what I'll speak today is, after having about 29 years of experience now altogether, I would like to share with all of you today. I mean, you will be possibly going into the business world, or you're already in the business world trying to switch over to another fascinating opportunity if it comes. I would like to say something. What is really important in today's life is to look at the strengthening of the work ethics and professionalism and the critical tips. How do you really crack and succeed in interviews? Right. Sorry, Jane, something happened. Okay, let me try this. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So why work ethics matters? Firstly, it's a collection of all values, actions that people are appropriate in the workplace, and where you're committed to taking on responsibilities with honesty, integrity, and maintaining moral values. The most important part of ethics is governance. And as you can see, I've put down on a sort of a staircase matrix there, which talks about the reliability, the responsibility, the choice, the ethics, the behavior, and the relationship that you build at work. It's a collection of all moral values and actions that people feel are appropriate in the workplace. It is where you execute your responsibilities with honesty, integrity, and maintaining moral values. That's a very, very important word, honesty and integrity. So whatever you do, whatever tasks you're doing, do it with utmost honesty. Maintain your integrity and dignity and reputation and fame in the organization. It's a collection of all values and people feel are appropriate in the workplace. What is a pivotal focal point of action is how well is the organization governed in different respects. Also, I would like to share my thoughts here that given the huge amount of globalization and competitive pressures, organizations are today hellbound in becoming highly competitive and struggling in the era of globalization induced hyper competition. A lot of unethical practices crop up. But again, the danger of that is once you start going into that league, you could possibly succeed for a while, but when market realizes that it's only for a short-term gain that you're doing it, it could lead to a big erosion of trust. And once your trust erodes, the faith and confidence which people have in your organization would possibly shrink. I've seen people, particularly in sales and marketing, go into a lot of unethical practices because they're under tremendous amount of pressure in terms of targets, commitments, etc. And therefore they possibly end up doing something which is slightly unethical, but I think it could only be a short-term gain because the market or the environment outside would realize it now or rather sooner, and then no longer will it be a matter to be something to be really proud of. One of the greatest elements is attendance, track record, which is the backbone of individual and team success. The cornerstone of advancement is, what I really feel is the advancement, punctuality, promptness, and that is where you bring about the element of dependability, trust, and reliability. You need to attend office and your work regularly. There could be some important assignments, there could be some important meetings. It's important to turn up on time, absolutely being prompt and punctual. Work ethics also says when you're part of the internal communication of any task, if any colleague is seeking some information, If it is on something on priority, you got to share it out absolutely on time. You need to be very prompt with your responses. You need to react to things very, very fast, because the competition in a nanosecond is changing very rapidly. And that's one of the reasons why success depends on how punctual and how prompt you are. Equally important, apart from being attendant, is that you're dependable. There is an element of trust, and there is reliability. So make work your priority. But of course, have a work-life balance. That's very, very important in today's life, because most people tend to forget it when they move into, going into a very, very hard work life, and maintaining a work-life balance gets tough. But even then, make your work a priority. And attending on time and doing things on time is absolutely important. I'll just share an example with all of you today. I was working with one of the biggest shipping companies earlier before I went in for my graduation. And I realized how important it was to attend the port duties on time, because a ship was on arrival. We had to look after the unloading of the vessel, and again loading back cargo so that the shipment happens on time. And that is what you are accountable to all your clients, because you are acting as agents for shipping lines, and you're responsible for cargo dispatch for all your exporters and importers. So you really need to balance out your time. You need to be there on time. It's absolutely important. Let me tell you also, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most critical things is when you have board meetings. And that is where you need to be very, very punctual. Not just arrive at the time of the meeting. Arrive well before time. Practice, go through your documents, see everything is in order, see all the infrastructure is in place so that the board meeting can happen flawlessly. So attendance and being prompt is absolutely, absolutely important. This is something which I realize, and especially there are situations when meetings are crucial. Important decisions have to be taken by the organization. So we cannot be casual and lackadaisical at any point of time. We have to be absolutely punctual and report absolutely on time. The next is your character, attributes. One of the greatest attributes you have in work ethics is being honest and remaining committed to your work. Whatever you do, as Sanjana was mentioning earlier, do it with utmost commitment. You must do it absolutely with utmost commitment. Display your commitment to performing and completing your work. Be honest in all situations. You must be trustworthy. Display initiative and have a bit of self-discipline. You really need to be honest in all situations, whatever you're doing. That's one of the greatest attributes in work ethics. Honesty, sincerity, dedication. It is something that you can't hide away from. In work practices today, I remember when I was working with the Haldia Petrochemicals, a petrochemicals organization, one of the greatest attribute one of our managers was looking for, because I was young in the organization reporting to the national sales manager. He wanted us to be honest at all times. Even if you fail to execute something, be honest about it. If you manage to do something wonderful, share your experiences. Be honest with your sharing of experience as to what led to the success. If there is always remember, there could be difficult situations where you can't manage what you intend to desire. There could be instances of failure, but not to worry about that. Please be honest in all your submissions. Whatever you've done, you may have done something wrong, or you may have communicated something wrong. Be honest to admit that. It's better to be honest rather than hiding something, because later a lie would hide another lie, and that could become absolutely perilous for the organization itself. One of the greatest attributes is your character, commitment, and being honest in all situations. So by honesty, I meant something which I've highlighted in my green font, and that in organization is absolutely critical. When you rise up to the organization at senior level positions, we tend to misuse our resources and privileges. We tend to mislead our customers. Please avoid doing that. It's a short-term gain that doesn't take you anywhere forward. One of the greatest cases that we look at in some case studies, like a Satyam Mehta's case or the Enron debacle in India, is the financial irregularities. So honesty is, don't misuse your privileges. You're given certain perks, bonuses, and privileges. Never misuse it. Like using your telephone for personal reasons, doing it excessively. Try and avoid that. That's not ethics. Ethics is using and utilizing resources given to you and utilizing for the work that you're meant for. Don't mislead customers. You've got to be honest with your customers in terms of product, your quality, your pricing. These are very, very important elements, what you need to convey to your customers. Financial irregularities, siphoning of money, not using money for what you're actually meant for. Suppose, for example, I was working in IDC Financial Services, we came out with the rights issue, and that is basically where we mobilize capital from our shareholders. And very importantly, we deploy that capital for the project that we wanted the money to go. Because sooner or later, it is going to reflect. We always see a lack of governance, a lot of cases. I'm short of time now. I could have a separate session on governance on this, but typically it tells you, try and avoid financial irregularities. And there is always a time you need to keep a buffer. Look at COVID hitting you now. If you had spent your finances prudently, you would have had a surplus financial stock to tide you over to the moment of crisis. Right. One of the greatest elements of ethics is initiative. Please think out of the box. Share your thoughts and perceptions, unique ideas with your colleagues. Ethically share it. Managers and your bosses and leaders will be delighted to see an employee taking initiatives. And that is where with initiative is backed up by motivation, enthusiasm, dedication, and be energetic. Absolutely. Is the passion for work, your motivation, your commitment. Please think out of the box. That's the hallmark sometimes of a wonderful and a great leader. What I would like to say at this end, think out of the box. Share your thoughts and perceptions about unique ideas with your colleagues. When employees have initiative, they ensure that work gets completed. Back it up with motivation, enthusiasm, dedication, be energetic, have your passion and commitment towards your work. Teamwork is equally important here. Sanjana mentioned the same thing, team spirit. I consider that as very, very important part of your work ethics. Team spirit. Foster your commitment. In any organization, sometimes the success and ethical practices maintain very strong and sound interpersonal skills. You really got to get along with your colleagues, communicate with them, discuss matters with them, have an open mind, share ideas and thoughts with them, facilitate cooperation, respect. Yeah, this is in teamwork extremely important. That's why I put it in green font. You should like democracy, respect the rights of others. Everyone in a group meeting has a right to contribute. Respect the rights of others, because I always feel one thing in ethics and teamwork, a collective mind works much better than an individual mind itself. A collective mind is way, way better. So foster commitment, go into solid teamwork. You can spread your expertise, work in a team, you do your bit, have your meetings, have a consultative dialogue, see where you may be going right or wrong or off the track, correct your anomalies, and set your path correct. But respect other people's opinions and views. A collective mind is always better than a single mind. I strongly believe in that. And my experience has shown in Haldia Petrochemicals, where I worked in major export marketing decisions and selection of channel partners. We've been in team and we've gone through a thorough discussion. Respect other people's views. And the end of the day is we pick up the best channel partners to do our best possible distribution and do our best possible market capture. So teamwork is extremely important. We can't work. There could be a specialist line where you work as a specialist, but again, at some point or another, your contribution has to be felt with a team of people who are going to be using your services. Attitude, absolutely very, very important. Proper attitude and approach determines the path to success. It makes you achieve the new heights of excellence. Demonstrate positive attitude. Be positive in what you're doing. Your approach should be absolutely positive. Determination. Path to success. You should be committed. Again, it's same around commitment, dedication, sincerity, but be positive in whatever you're doing. Be confident. Work ethics demands people that they are extremely confident. You need to build up an aggressive personality here. Back up what you're doing with confidence and say, you really think that what you're doing is something which you ought to do at whatever context. Again, what Sanjana said, I'm again going to throw up this time management productivity. What is ethically important is utilize your resources optimally. Manage your time. Make up missed assignments in a timely manner. Allocate time judiciously for tasks. Stick to the deadlines. Prioritize your tasks. Make sure ethically you complete your tasks meeting your deadlines. Allocate time for doing your tasks. Spread your expertise. Allocate your time. Focus yourself and utilize your resources in the organizations efficiently. Do not fear to ask for help. It's extremely important. You got to ask for help when it's required. Set timetables, schedule activities, check up on your progress. It's extremely important. I noticed that when I was in a consulting firm, particularly all of you, when you're going ahead with your consulting assignment, your consultancy business as one of your career prospects, you have to have timelines, timetables, schedule activities, work as a team, make your contributions, participate in meetings, be absolutely as punctual as possible. Right. So this takes us, I think I'm running a little short on time here, but what I'll do is I'll possibly proceed along a little quickly. Communication and cooperation is extremely important. Ethically, one thing you must realize, it is not what you're communicating to people, but participating in team meetings and group discussions. But you also need to be a good listener. You have to listen to others also. This is something vital and important in today's world where you need to progress your career in the organization. Your communication skills, it's not just communicating and speaking to someone and making sure you're heard. You equally need to respond and, listen to others. You've got to listen to others. You've got to have a sense of cooperation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this takes us to the interview. I would like everyone here to listen to this very carefully. I've broken up this into 3 phases: preparation before the interview, during the interview, and what are some of the critical perspectives that you need to focus on. Whenever you get a job interview, when you're appearing for an interview before that, do your thorough research. Please research about the organization, its products, its services, its offerings, its competitors. The interviewer would be happy to know that you've done some solid research and background about the organization. Redo your CV. It has to look appealing. Your CV is one of the greatest tools in an interview. How you draft and sequence your CV, starting with the most recent jobs, your education credentials, your academic achievements, your work experience, your interests and hobbies, your objectives. Your CV should be very, very crisp and to the point, but highlight and give details of all your achievements, especially your internship projects and your previous work organizations where you've served, your facets of exposure. That should come clearly visible in your CV. Profile matching, your expectations versus competencies. It basically tells us what are the skills that you have and what is the job demand. And very importantly, please decide on a professional dress code and attire. Appearance makes a big difference. So before the interview, plan out everything. How would you go reach the interview destination? Plan it well in time. You reach on time. You go professionally well dressed, and you crafted a good CV, and you're putting it in front. At the day of the interview, arrive well before time. Greetings and welcome. What is extremely important is the way you introduce yourself. Avoid too much of distraction, gestures. Interview has 2 aspects, ladies and gentlemen. One is general questions and one is technical questions. So in the technical question, you must have prepared to do your technical rounds. Be prepared to answer what you've done in the past in other organizations, your job responsibilities. You're confident enough to answer. So your facts in the CV should be truly reflecting what you actually have done. Your CV should be accurate and to the point. And again, honesty comes in there. So those could be technical rounds. They could ask you technical questions about the subject that you studied. Make sure you prepare a little bit. Get some questions and tips to answer. General questions, prepare yourself. What could be general questions? Practice at home. How would you tackle such general questions? Like introduce yourself. What are some of the most significant challenges in your life? There could be some difficult situations which you face in life. How did you tackle those situations? Avoid distraction. Answer with confidence. Please be confident in an interview. Do not be overconfident, over smart, and be belligerent with your interviewer. Do not give the impression that the employer is overpowering you. Avoid nervousness. Never try. I know nervousness trickles in, but never be nervous. Just be yourself. Be yourself with your knowledge and acumen. Politeness and courtesy. When the person is asking you a question, you should be absolutely polite. Be courteous. Answer the question. If you don't know, please come back and say, can I come back to you later on this? Never make too many, don't get distracted. Don't make too many gestures. Be absolutely confident and to the point. So what is the employer seeking? Experience, educational background, your appearance, your self-expression, your domain knowledge, your motivation, curiosity, your team dynamics. And if you're going in a senior level position, do you have leadership traits? Can you direct and coordinate and control a team of people? Employers seeking all this. Your past experiences. Have you been stable in organization? That is what a CV is typically reflecting. A rolling stone gathers no moss. So if you have job hop too much, it could, it could stand against you. Educational qualifications are extremely important. Your appearance, your domain knowledge. Please brush up on your knowledge. You should be perfectly knowledgeable in the sphere that you're going for work. There is no ground for majority of training today. The world changes very rapidly. Because when I joined my organization, when I moved from IDC Financial Service to Haldia Petrochemicals, I went through a round of interviews where they tested my previous experience and my domain knowledge. I had to be clear enough to answer and win the confidence of the interviewer. The recruiter is looking for all this, your sense of motivation and curiosity. What could be some challenging questions? You need to prepare for that. Why should we hire you? These are stressful questions. How would you contribute? How would you give examples of where you've handled difficult situations? Your most significant achievements in your life, learning from failures, convinced that you can also, multitask. These are great impressions that you can give when you're going through interviews. Handling different difficult situations which you have in the past. How would you contribute in the days to come? What have you learned from some failures? But anyway, these are some questions which may come up, but is absolutely not essential. But be prepared to answer these stressful questions. These are some challenging questions. But the grand finish is, ladies and gentlemen, interviewer has spoken to you. They ask, do you have any questions? Please ask these questions. Don't ask package, growth rates, where I see myself immediately, when are you going to hire me? Did my interview go well? These are not pertinent questions at all. Ask the employer what training and development services you provide to your employees. What exposure and environment do you provide? Independence, flexibility, creativity aspects. Is there independence? Is there flexibility? Is there something that you can do out of the box? What is the environment like? What career paths? What careers can I take? What can be my career if I work 5-10 years down the line? How do I migrate from each level? How would you measure my performance? How are appraisals done? So ask these questions. The environment, the training, the space. Ask them more on your career options and the exposure environment. Avoid questions like packages. How fast can I move up the ladder? What are the hours of work typically, sir? These sort of things. Idea is also, ladies and gentlemen, in the world of COVID today, what matters is your profile. And again, what really matters is not always a brand. A brand is helpful, but you need to have a great boss who can lead and direct your career. That is something that I would advise you. even if it comes in a lower branded organization with less pay. But if you can learn something, make superb contribution, and have a great boss to groom your career, please go ahead with it. But ultimately, take up a job where you see the profile is something that you want. Otherwise, you may regret it at the end. So please do that. Well, that's all from my side. I would thank you very much indeed for this opportunity. I would be delighted to answer any questions, if any.
Sumitra, I've seen one question. I'm aware of time, so we will have questions right at the end as well. But there is one question I just from a guest asking if you would share your CV.
Share my CV.
Would that be something you'd be willing to do? I know that we all have LinkedIn as well, so that's certainly an online resource that we can all access if that's
Yes,
more.
yeah, you can share my LinkedIn profile, and if anyone wants, I'm writing my email ID here. You can send me a test mail, and I'll be happy to share my CV with them by all means.
Many thanks, that's great. I'm simply going to hand over, as I mentioned, there will be opportunity for questions right at the end. If people,
sure.
Guests here have questions that you have, feel free to post them into the dashboard here and we'll pick them up at the end. I'm going to hand over to Ruchir now. So let me just make you the presenter here so you can take over control of the next steps. There we go.
Thank you, Jane, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. So my name is Ruchir Agarwal, and I graduated from the University of Exeter 2018 with a degree in Business and Management. Currently, I'm serving as the Director for Quality and Innovation at my family-run business called Rio Parapack Private Limited. We primarily deal in corrugated packaging. When I first came to Exeter in 2015, my primary agenda or the aim that I came with was I'm going to secure an industrial placement job after my second year, gain some valuable work experience. As Sumitra mentioned, that someone doing a business degree should have some kind of practical work experience. Was my basic aim and focus. And keeping that in mind, that's what I set out with the agendas with, achieving the right grades, the 2-1 which you needed to qualify for the industrial program, and so on. I started applying for jobs quite early in my second year, let's say early in, say, July 2016, before the second year started, in fact. And I applied to nearly 75 plus companies. And many of the points that Sumitra probably just mentioned were quite relevant in my case, and which something I should have, if I got the correct guidance then, which I did get from the alumni, from the careers department at the university, but some sort of a push or some sort of a extra guidance, maybe I would have been able to secure a job. So rightly said that you need to tailor your CV according to the job profile. You need to constantly keep updating your skills on LinkedIn and other platforms. The need for networking and all of the things Sanjana and Sumitra have mentioned are completely true over here when applying for the job market. Moving along from that, I would like to specifically speak about working in a family business, especially in when you're back home in India. So my company, it involves my father, my mother, and my grandparents, and my grandfather to be specific, and me, were the four main key players here. Along with that, we have a staff of around 30 employees and around 200 people working at our factory. So some things that I have realized in my short period of time, over 1 year working over here, is that nothing can be taken for granted. If you feel that working in your family business gives you a cushion or a net that, oh, if you make a mistake, there's someone to take back, it's not like that. If that mistake is done, it's done. You have to be responsible as the business owner for doing that mistake. As part and parcel of my job, while I am learning, I'm constantly being guided by my parents. Even the smallest email that I write to some of our clients or customers or suppliers, I usually would prefer to take approvals from them before I send it, because business reputation is something that we have built over time. And in a country like ours, where people are connected with each other so closely, negative word spreads quicker than positive word is what I would say. So those are the things that I have been extremely vigilant about. But at the same time, I have realized that the kind of different roles and jobs that I've had to take over, or skill sets that I've developed over 1 year have been completely different. So quality is something that I never thought I would start off with, but that is what my father recommended, that I should start off with this, because quality, if I start off from the quality department, I would be able to learn the entire in and outs of the business. And slowly over this 1 year period of time, I have understood the business in and out, even though I still am not capable of going and finding out the costing structures, or sending a proposal to the clients that, oh look, this is our costing structure, this is what we can offer. But I still have a fair bit of knowledge of how I can deal with the customer front end as well. Additionally, along with that, I would say the commitment and the job security that comes along with working in a family business is really high, because you have someone to fall back upon to always. So you have that kind of stability, you have the commitment, and like I mentioned, you get to travel and see different kinds of aspects of the business. So I started off with quality, and now I'm shifting on to my stores department. So last year, my stores department spent nearly 75 lakh rupees only just buying different kind of spares, emergency spares, not the ones that we had in stock. Uh, that was a huge expense for us. And as a KPI, as a key performance indicator this year, we have changed that, and we had said that we're going to directly reduce this by 20%, because 75 lakh rupees of direct purchases in emergency periods, it's a lot of money. So at the same time that I from quality to stores, and at the same time now started integrating myself into production planning. So as and when you keep on learning on the job, you always have new opportunities and avenues. Because 2 months after I joined, I was like, do I really want to do this? Do I really just want to keep looking after quality of, oh, I produced a corrugated board, this was the quality parameter, it's all fine. Is that my job profile? And that's when I went and spoke to my parents about that, look, I'm getting kind of bored in this, I need something new. So that's when I got a new task on my hand. So if anyone is coming with the intention of going to university and then coming back and joining a family business, I would strongly recommend, it's a very good idea. However, set your expectations, know what you want to do, okay, and always be open to talking to your immediate superior. It could be your uncle, it could be your cousin, it could be your parents, it could be anyone. Okay, I do understand that we're Indian people, we like to have certain kinds of drama, internal conflict. All of those things are a natural given. I'm sure in the western half of the world as well, such things do exist. And be prepared to be dealing with those kind of challenges. As business owners versus employees is something I would understand, that as a business owner, you definitely have to clock in or have the tension or pressure more on your head as compared to an employee. Because I've had employees, high paid employees during COVID periods, where we told them to make training plans, virtual training plans, and to impart them to the lower rung of people. But they were not effective in doing that. Maybe they had not seen the COVID pandemic as a pandemic. They thought that it was a holiday, given that they were getting salaries, there were no pay cuts, there were no layoffs. Some of them took that as an opportunity to spend time with their family. Not that I did not spend time with my family, and the other people over here have not spent quality time with their family during COVID, but some of them took it for granted. And as employers, we felt a bit disheartened to see that when you are earning, or when you're commanding such a high salary, you are expected to perform irrespective of what the situation is. So those were certain challenges that I felt as well. Additionally, COVID, me being only 24 years old, has I probably just read it in history books about World War and the Spanish flu and so on, but it's something that I have seen today, and it's something I will pass on to my next generation, that look, it has happened. The business world is completely unpredictable. Okay, there were major disruptions. Most of my machinery in my factory comes from China. We had major breakdowns, we had logistical problems, but we did cope with it. And you have to evolve, and you have to move along with the changing business world. If you're going to stagnate, or you're going to be close-minded to the idea that, oh look, I don't want to do this. This is how the way I've been doing business, and this is how I'm going to continue. You will not be able to succeed ahead. Just an example on top of my head. My factory was shut for 2 months, and we have an important MNC client who we were exporting containers to. They were not shut in the Middle East. Only for them, we had a select group of 8 employees, okay, with special permissions, only filling up their export containers even during the pandemic time. That same customer has rewarded us back. We were exporting 8 containers a month on an average pre-COVID. We're now exporting 45 containers a month. That's 9 times business growth. If you are committed to someone in the business world, they will commit back to you. And especially during testing times, if you are able to fulfill your suppliers and your customers' demands, pay them on time, maintain the relationships, and not break them, I am certain that you will get the benefits in the longer run for it, as we are seeing now. Additionally, something that COVID has made me realize is when I joined the business back in September, I used to travel a lot, go and meet clients, go and meet suppliers. The face-to-face interaction, we felt that, oh, I need to take a trip down to Delhi, even if it's for one day, the ticket might be costing me 8,000 rupees on a return flight. Oh, hey, but the business is for maybe 20 lakh rupees. So what's 8,000 rupees in that? But that has made me realize now that a lot of time was spent over there. Again, something that we all mentioned, I think Sanjana mentioned that with the growing digitization and the need for Skype, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and other platforms, you can use them effectively. Investments would be required in them, but they are the best way forward to communicate and to save time, which time equals money, which is the ever-long saying that if you have the time, you will be making the money. Moreover, that's basically what I wanted to speak about, not much. If there are any questions, I'll be able to answer them specifically, working in a family environment or something like that. I'm open to that. Hey, thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful and really interesting to hear about how you progressed directly into your family business. One question that it just sprung to mind, if you don't mind me asking to start with, how, and actually, Sanj, this would also apply to you. It just apparent to me, how do you make the distinction from work and life, sort of running your own business and working in a family business? How do you manage that? Because I can imagine, you know, living, breathing it every day, it could be challenging to make that distinction.
Sanjana, do you want to go ahead or?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so so till a few years ago, I think even just like 3 years ago, I remember I was in London celebrating my birthday, and a client called me up, completely forgetting that I was in a different time zone. So he called me up at what was 5 a.m. UK time, and I remember answering the phone call and talking to him about the work, and then getting that work done at 5 a.m. on my birthday. And I was staying with my best friend, who got really annoyed at that, but she also was very understanding. But since then, what I've learned is that it's very, very important to draw certain lines and certain boundaries and make sure that the client is also very well aware. And I think initially, when you first get into it, you may not necessarily be able to set those boundaries. But after a while, when you have built a certain reputation, you've gotten to somewhere, like at 5 years, I can afford to do that now, because I have established a reputation for my company, for my brand. And so I can decide not to take that phone call at 9 p.m. if a client calls, unless it's like an emergency and like the website has broken down or something. But other than that, I think in your first initial years, maybe just 2 or 3 years, it is difficult to set those boundaries, and it does take time, because you are in the mode of like building up your name, your reputation, your brand. And I think even Richard will agree. So even if you're in a family business, I'm sure it takes that initial building up of your reputation. I think it applies to anyone, even if you join a new company. That first year is very critical for you to build up a certain reputation. So while initially you do have to give in that extra 10% or 50% even, I think it's very, very important to set time aside, especially on the weekends, for yourself. something just to do something for yourself, because otherwise you're at risk of just burning out. Again, I think time management is a very, very important skill for that, just organizing your schedule in such a way that you do have at least 15 minutes or a half an hour to just like catch up on just an episode of some TV show, or just like read or do something for yourself that does not involve work. So I think initially you start off with that, and then over time you're able to build those boundaries and be like, listen, I cannot do this. If you ask me to do something within 24 hours, that's not possible. You need to give me 72 hours. So I think it takes a little time to get to that place where you set your own terms and conditions where someone else will accept it. But yeah, it's a slow process, but it does happen eventually.
Yeah, I strongly agree with Sanjana there that you do need to maintain the work and personal life boundary there. So with me, when I first joined, it used to be that sometimes on the weekend, late at night, I used to go out for a drive with my friends, and then I used to be late at work the other day, and it gets slightly annoyed with that. That's when I realized that I need to set a particular timetable and schedule for myself, that where I tell my friends and my people who I hang out with that, okay, look, Monday to Friday is work, and Friday after that, if you want to do something at late at night, you want to go out, we can maintain that balance, and that's worked out kind of well with me. I've maintained that during COVID, after COVID, and pre-COVID since I think around November now. I have maintained that kind of a balance, and that's good. Luckily with us, we rarely, being in the manufacturing industry, we rarely have clients calling up with a panic call at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or late night calls. Plus, we only run one shift because as a small family owned business, we have never had or felt the need that, oh, we should run a second shift. And even though we have the capabilities and uh, machinery and the capacity available for that, but we've always wanted a peaceful mind of sleep when we at night, and that's how we have maintained and distinguished our work-life balance. So naturally, we do not have clients calling us up late. An email is okay. That first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, that will be answered to. But overall, yes, if you are working in a family business or if you are an entrepreneur or running your own business, it is good to set certain boundaries and have a clear timetable of where you are able to dedicate time to yourself.
Thanks. I think that's really important, that the points you made, making that distinction, particularly during the times we're going through at the moment, where well-being and mental health is so critical to everyone in succeeding. I'm just going to go to one question that I've seen from our guest here. It's from, apologies, let me just see, it's from Dilip. So he says, may I ask, apologies, I'll just scroll past it here. May I ask, what are the current market research sources to understand the demand for products and services in India? Do you have any suggestions?
I think the thing is, India is such a massive country and we're just so diverse. So I think it would be best to look at your local market within your city or within your state, and just understand what your requirements are. Also because there's also like a bit of political tension everywhere at the moment. So I think just look at what's happening locally, and I think the best way to do that is just to read your local newspaper, B, social media, even though it's quite a black hole. I think if you can focus on just looking for those groups, those pages that refer to the opportunities within your state, within your city, that would be a great place to find out information. LinkedIn is another source as well. You can look at a lot of websites and blogs such as like Business Insider. That's a good source to understand what's happening. Economic Times, Financial Times. Those are great sources to understand what's happening within your state and your region. I think those are the sources to look at to understand what's in demand. Also, just like, again, I think reach out and talk to people. Just talking to people, understanding what people are thinking about at this time. That's a great way to navigate and maybe cater to what the general consensus is. So it's kind of like an informal focus group that you're going to be having by talking to a lot of people just within, whether it's a social circle or just acquaintances, or within like your business circle, just like talk to people and discuss things with them. I think that's a great way to get insight into what people are looking for, especially within your target audience.
Yeah, but I just want to add a point here. Sorry, Jane, just add a point here. Apart from your normal, the local markets and your searches and going through publications and newspapers, equally important, if you could do a primary mini small market research primarily in the market, that will give you a lot of market insight in terms of market research, something I've seen. It's good to do a questionnaire based survey, or to even, a lot of people are in today's world, what they're doing is they're filling out Google forms. That could be another great way to understand consumers' viewpoints about products. So you could possibly launch a survey which could be digitally driven, which could be even, forget COVID in general, which could be market driven. You could send out people in the field with questionnaires to find out some data. I think a combination of primary and secondary data would make the information that you wanted more solid and concrete.
Yeah,
I think that would possibly help. That's what I think. I mean, Ruchi, in case you want to add something else.
No, I agree. I was just talking about something where if people don't have a budget, but if you do have a budget, you can literally just hire a marketing research firm to do the research for you if you have the budget at the moment. I would not recommend necessarily sending out people right now because I mean we're still in the middle of a pandemic, even though lockdown has been lifted.
No,
But like
Sanjana,
Google
I
Forms
meant
is
that
definitely,
under normal circumstances.
yeah,
I meant that
of
under
course,
normal circumstances, yeah.
Of course, I think like Google Forms is good, but if you do have the budget, just go ahead and hire a marketing research firm. That would be probably the best way to find out what's happening and what would be the best product or service within your industry and within your region.
Right.
Just because it's a marketing question right now, and I've been working silently on my pet project, an e-commerce pet project of mine. So I've been doing a lot of market research on my own. So yes, secondary sources definitely a good starting point, but like Sumitra mentioned, primary research should be done. So I use SurveyMonkey extensively and Google Forms both. And I use SurveyMonkey for certain paid surveys where I got around, let's say, 600 responses for a cost of around 3,500, 4,000 rupees. It was a tailored survey, and again, I do not know how reliable it is, but it's something I would have to believe on. So you would have to take the initiative depending on what your product or service or a product service offering is, and depending on that nature, you should see primary, secondary, and how much primary, how much secondary, the percentages over there, and then go ahead about with that. But definitely primary research should be part of any kind of marketing research if you do.
Thanks so much, everyone. There's one last question, Ruchir, is what challenges have you faced in your family business?
Majorly, the challenges that I have faced is since I did an undergraduate in business and management, and then I did a master's from Bath in innovation and technology management. So the day I came with one agenda that I need to digitize many things in my company. And my father straight away said, no, this is not happening. You're not doing this. Okay. He was strong-headed that no, I like the way how I take my stock on paper, how I eliminate my dispatches on paper. And I'm like, if you think that I'm going to be working here for the next 20, 30, 40, maybe to the end of my life, it's impossible. You need to do an ERP module, and you need to implement an ERP. And so the conflict, or I wouldn't say conflict, but expressing your ideas and having people older than you, much more experienced than you in the business, to accept those ideas, to convince them, is the biggest challenge I have faced. So there are a couple of employees in my office and my factory whom I have grown up with, okay, who have seen who they joined when they from the time when they've been there. So that the respect that you have to give them, the way you talk with them, the way you have to understand their needs, the way how you cannot probably express your disappointment or your anger or your frustration at them. So those are the things that the soft skills, like how you speak to someone, how you interact with someone, those are the biggest challenges that I have faced. For me, if it was someone XYZ who was a new recruit, or if it was someone who is on a lower, I'm not talking about salaries here, but someone who does not have that kind of the work skills, or or if it's probably someone like a data accountant, maybe you could fire them overnight, but I cannot fire someone who's probably doing the production planning for my factory for the last 15 years. I cannot just go and disrespect him and tell him that, oh, look, this is the new way you should work. So certain ethics, certain boundaries, certain work cultures, you have to adapt to it, even though you might be the son's owner or whatever. It doesn't matter. You have to respect the culture. You have to respect the working methods. That would be the biggest challenge I have faced till now.
Yeah, just
I'm aware that
sorry,
you
I
want
put to add to that.
Carry on.
No, that's fine. I just want to add to that. Now, I completely agree with Richard. I think irrespective of where you are, those soft skills are imperative, especially communication. And the thing is, I think I mentioned this before, that no two people are the same. So you need to understand how you need to deal with each individual, especially when you're pitching something, or you're sharing an idea that is different than what they're used to. So I think just convincing them, you need to do it in a way that they understand best. You can't just come on aggressively and pitch an idea. It has to be slowly. It has to be small changes, and take those small steps. And you need to be very patient. So I think patience is something that's very, very important, as is communication. Just understanding people. That's something you just learn on the job. You're not taught that anywhere, other than a psychology degree, which not all of us do have. So I think just like understanding the person you're speaking to, that is very important.
Just
Also,
want to build
sorry, Sanjana, just to add to your point, one of the most important papers in a business school today is the change management. So as I said very clearly, the digitization challenges, there've been a lot of instances where I've faced in organizations, whether you're running your own business or you're working somewhere, people may be resistant to change, but if you take them through the change process, making them understand this is what the modern world requires, and if you can bring about a change, it'll be beneficial for the organization and you. Some people have taken it in very positive spirit, and they've undergone a dramatic change. Like people were earlier said, I like manual entries, I'm used to it. When they got the feel of computers, when they started entering, they became a completely different human beings completely. And today they're probably more computer savvy than what you are. They've taken it to that extent. But yes, I do agree. It has to be a very gradual, calibrated, and a phased process to bring about that change. It is something which you can't instill upon them immediately and compel them. It has to be a gradual process.
Yeah. I agree with Samudra there, and like I said, when I came, I wanted to do this digitization project. So a couple of us were not using original Windows, couple of us were not using Outlook. Everyone had different kind of platforms. But after the COVID period has made all of us realize in my family that no, there is a need to spend money for the IT infrastructure. Okay, what I was speaking when I came was sort of correct, and we have set up an entire project plan for the next 7 months, where in staggered processes, starting from our head office in Bombay to our factory in Gujarat, Vapi, that we will be changing and upgrading and getting all the key employees, the necessary employees, original version of Windows, original Outlook, and everything, and so we're all on the same page, so that we can communicate, we can discuss, and stay on the same page, because there were so many times when one stock statement used to come, when one stock statement was right, one was wrong, and all of that used to jumble up. So that's that.
Well, I'm aware that we've run over of time, but that's absolutely fine, because it's been really interesting, and I've enjoyed the Q&A a lot. I think we've covered really important points throughout your presentations in the Q&A. If I could just finish by asking Sumitra one last question. In the wealth of experience you've had in the professional world, what would you say is the one skill that you mentioned, the professional skill or the work ethic, that's really stood out to you, and that would be, and why is that? If you could point out one skill that would be
I mean, absolutely. I think the most important thing about ethics, about also is that, respecting other people's views and, working collectively, team spirit. Apart from that, I think there are two important things here. One is the work and the passion and the drive. And secondly, I always felt it is a case of taking initiatives. Because in ethical and professional world, you got to think something out of the box and take a few initiatives. And that is something I really enjoyed. And because in my past organizations where I worked, I've always seen when you come out with an idea and take an initiative, your employer respects you more than anything else. You're not doing something which is a routine task. You're going into the development mode. So the initiatives part is one of the best things that I encountered in the professional world today. Taking initiatives. And second is, of course, working in a team. Have your respect for everyone. You need to move on in a team to achieve the mission and the goals of the organization. Everyone's view, everyone's contribution has to hit you, and it has to be realized and well recognized. These are the two very, very important points that I would like to highlight in professional and work ethics. And lastly, I would also say, Jane, no matter what you're doing, your integrity and honesty is very important. Integrity, reputation, honesty, believe in that. You'll march along. And another thing to realize, we cannot sometimes define success. But I always say, the secret of success is to know what failure is, but strive towards excellence. It will take you to the path of success. Strive to excellence. You'll reach a long milestone, which is aiming towards success.
I'll just unmute myself there. Thank you. That was really, really inspiring, actually, and I think we've got a lot of takeaways from this session. I've just posted in, just to finish off here, just to remind everyone that this has been recorded. So anyone who couldn't make it today, this will be shared on our webpage with our careers team, so our students will have access to this session as well. And I'm just posting the link here. And any extra questions that you have after this session, feel free to email me at that email address, and we can always pick them up later if that's okay with everyone here. Event recordings. Here we go. So I will share this on our social media pages as well. There we are. So just to wrap up there and say thank you so much to our panelists. It's been a real pleasure to speak with you today and learn about your professional skills, and thank you for sharing them with our alumni and our students here. And I look forward to keeping in touch, and thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for hosting this event.
Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.